Thank you all. It's so great to see so many familiar faces in the room. I'm gonna make sure and try to project, but if you can't hear me, just like give me a signal so that I can make sure and that everybody can hear. So as Reagan said, I am Beth Trejo, owner and founder of Chatterkick. Chatterkick is a social media agency that was started 14 years ago today, or this year, in Sioux City. So it's been a while. And why AI connects to social media and Chatterkick is we've been able to be on the front line of change. Social media has always changed. They don't give us notice, they just change it on us. And so me and my team have always really had to have that forward-facing approach so that we are on the leading edge of how businesses are using these tools. And I'm also just a personal fan of, like, if you put a new sticker on something, like, I will buy it. Tell me something that, you know, is just on the market, I'll dive in, I'll try it. And I personally have been able to change my work life with these tools. And I've been using them for several years, a lot of it's self-taught. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the things that have really helped me today so that you can try it as well. We're going to start with the basics, but we're also going to just live test some of these things so that you can see, okay, this is how it could help my business today. AI is also a very broad category. It is like a huge cloud of different definitions and tools. But today we are really going to be focusing on LLMs. So anybody know what that means? Okay, large language models. Think of these as like the writing tools when you're looking at AI. And these are the things that people are using in their business probably most commonly today, and I think it's probably the easiest place to start. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about AI. And I'm not going to get into a lot of the like ethical things about AI, or even, I mean, the dangers and the chaos around some of this stuff. I do keep up with that, so if you want to have a sidebar conversation, I'm happy to. But I think we were talking ahead of this session, and someone mentioned to me, like, I really like AI, but I'm also kind of afraid of it. And I think that's probably about the sentiment that we should have these days. I think that we need to have a little caution, and we need to understand the boundaries, but also leverage it because it's not going anywhere. It's already fully integrated into so many of the tools and systems that we use on a day-to-day basis. And so for as business people, or even in your personal careers, having knowledge and how to use these tools in the best way possible will get you ahead. And so let's just start with like the basic LLM, so large language models, okay? So how many of you here have used ChatGPT? Okay, great, perfect, we're on a good start. So ChatGPT is owned by OpenAI, and it's one of the brand names per se on these language models, okay? Second one, Gemini. How many of you use Gemini? Okay, most of you are probably using Gemini if you're using Google because it's already integrated. So Gemini is owned by Google. How about Claude? Oh, we got a couple of Claude users. Claude is owned by Anthropic. That is another one that's out there. A lot of coders and the developers for software use Claude. It's kind of big in that space. Another one, Perplexity. Anybody use Perplexity? Perplexity is kind of an interesting one because it's very question and answer focused, and it's just a different experience for these large language models. And then there's two more that I would say are probably less commonly used, but they're important to know. One is Llama. Anybody heard of that one? Okay. Llama is owned by Meta, and they are integrating it into their systems, and they are also allowing it to be used for other tools and development systems. They have put a ton of money into developing their product, and they are stealing employees from a lot of the other big companies. And then the other one, again, we're not going to go into this, but it's important to know, is DeepSeek. And DeepSeek is the one that's owned and created in China. And it's a big disruptor in this space right now. And then you have Gronk, which is Twitter. It's a little bit more isolated, but it is another large language model. Now, why do we need to know about all of these? Well, one thing that's very interesting is that's not that many. There are not that many developers and companies that are actually creating these large language models. And that's important to know because all of the other tools are built on their backs. They're using integrations, they're using them behind the scenes. There is really only a few players, and even more so, there's a lot of drama in the employee space because there's not a lot of people that know how to develop these tools. Okay, so what you need to know is large language models are what they're called. That's the category. There's a handful of them, and a lot of the other software and tools are using them. Okay, so now let's talk about, is this just like a Google? Well, no, not at all. So let me give you just a very high level difference. So Google and search engines they were created by companies, but there is a level of control that Google has. So if you are a business and you optimize your website and you optimize your maps and you do a couple other things on the checklist, the chances that you get found in Google are very high because there is an element that we know what we can control. Large language models are built very, very differently. The control of these models is very sporadic. It's hard to control not only as a business, but a lot of the developers, because it predicts. It's not like a learning like a Google is. It's just a very different system. So although people may use them the same to find and source information, very different. Different functionalities, different control, and they give you different outputs. So if there's one thing you want to remember today is don't use them the same because they are very different. And when I say that, I'll teach you a little bit about what I mean by that, but you don't want to write what you would write into Google, into ChatGPT, because you're just touching the surface and you're not going to get the full experience of what these large language models can actually do. Okay? I know we have different levels of digital acumen in the room, so I'm going to kind of check everybody that we're good, and then we'll move on. But please, if you have questions in the middle, feel free to answer or ask. So today we're going to go with ChatGPT because most people are using this tool specifically, and they have free and paid versions of it. ChatGPT is a really great tool to create a partner in your business and even in your personal life. Let me tell you a story. So my kids are at the age now, I have a 14-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter. And we are in the world of activities. We have volleyball, we got soccer, and we have more volleyball and soccer. And so every night, I swear, my kids need 2 dinners. They have to eat at 4:30, and then they need to eat at 8 when they come home from their second activity, right? And so I'm still working at 4:30, and it's really hard for me to figure everything out, get something on the stove, also run a business. And so that feeling of constant being tugged in multiple directions, especially because I'm a little frazzled at times, is really hard for me to focus. And so one thing that I have done, and I did this the other day, I was in that same moment, I had put something on the stovetop, and I was trying to finish a meeting. And I finished my meeting, but oftentimes when I finish a meeting, then I need to get notes and deliverables and gotta get everything out of my brain to other people, right? So I grabbed my phone, and I just brain dumped into it. I just said, okay, this is what the meeting was about. So-and-so needs to do this. Don't forget, Beth, you need to remember this. And I just literally spewed all this information into my phone using the microphone, the ChatGPT. And I told it to organize everything for me, create emails to send out to the 2 people that it needed to have done, and then make sure that I created a reminder that I could drop in my Apple phone and put it in the reminders. Took me probably 5 minutes because I read the emails quick, made sure they were accurate, sent them off to people, and then grabbed the reminder from my phone. I could go back to cooking. I didn't burn anything. And it's that little margin that I think makes the biggest difference. Because stuff isn't magic, but it is providing you margin in your brain, margin in your business. Just a little bit of shift in your day to make you a better communicator, to make you a better business person, to help you understand in a different way. Those are things that these tools, especially ChatGPT, is really good at. Another thing that I would recommend, and it's something most of you all probably will do this naturally, but some generations, especially younger people, may not as much, is I always approach AI as like a sandwich. You need a human, then you can have your input and your AI in the middle, make it do your work, but then make sure you have that human on the other side, because it creates wrong information at times, which we call hallucinate. You'll hear that a lot. It will cite sources that are not real. It will say things that are just goofy and maybe not how you want to represent the information. So you always want to check both sides of the equation. And then the other thing that I think it's really helped me do is focus on the stuff that's like high value to the company. I'm making the assumption that many of you own businesses here today, or that you're in charge of departments, and maybe sometimes you're doing like the grunt work. You're typing in contacts into a CRM and someone else could be doing that. But maybe you don't have the time or even the resources to hire someone to do that. This is where these tools start to intertwine in your business. And they really can make a big difference, not only for a small business, but it can really help large businesses too. So when you think of this, just think of it as like, okay, now I know what large language models are. Whatever type, you all run different types of businesses and you all have different types of personalities. So you're gonna use them differently. But if you can think of it as just like your wing woman or wingman, then that is a good way to think about like, okay, now how could I use this in my day-to-day business? How could I use this in my life? My husband works in the business with me. He's an accountant by trade. He is very methodical. He is very detailed. And I always tease him that he's very slow, right? Because he's very methodical and detailed. And I just like to go fast and furious. I have challenges with details, and I have lots of ideas all the time. We use the tools very differently. We use the same tool, but he may use it to get more ideas out on his plate or to double check his work. And I may use it to organize my crazy ideas and get them into action items and then get them to someone else. So you're gonna all use this stuff differently, and there's no right or wrong answer. The right answer is what helps you advance, and the wrong answer is just either not using it or not checking it. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna go into the basics of ChatGPT. I'm gonna actually pop out into my real account, and we're gonna look at how to set everything up, because this really matters. And if you hadn't had a chance to do this yet, I highly recommend starting with just the foundation of a ChatGPT account. There is different levels. I recommend paying for the $20. There is a lot of great usage, but the free also works if you're just trying to get used to this stuff. Okay? So I want to just give you a quick tour. So this is what it looks like. When you first log in, it's just going to be a main screen. But you are going to have different models. What these do is they think of them as like a different type of assistant. So your auto is probably what it's going to be defaulted at. And if you are brand new to ChatGPT, just keep it on auto. It's probably going to be the most efficient. Instant is if you just need something fast. You already know what you need and you just need it to write you something quickly. You don't need it to process and reason. Think of this as if this, then that. So that's called reasoning in computer language, right? You need multiple steps. And so if you were trying to make your robot do something that has multiple steps or even math problems, you want the thinking model. And then I have Pro. I don't think you probably need Pro. It's more expensive. but that is their highest level of AI. And for me, it was worth it. It's not cheap, but I do use this thing as an assistant. And so the Pro has really helped me in that instance. But the basics, auto and instant and thinking, these are the latest models, and they're definitely sufficient for what most businesses need.
Question?
Yeah.
With the Pro, what do you get with that?
You get this model, you get new access to tools, and you get a lot more like calls. So like I'm making this thing work. And so I run out of like basically juice on a monthly basis. Okay, they do have some legacy models. I wouldn't worry about that unless you've used those in the past. But if you're just getting started, just use the main ChatGPT 5 with these 3 options. Yes?
So when you were talking about like having ChatGPT organize your evening,
Yes.
do you have to have the Pro or
Nope.
can you do it through the auto?
Nope, all of that can even be done through the free.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're good on that. My kids have the free, and or at least one of them does, and I always can see like where they get stuck. The biggest thing is like if you generate a lot of images, you may need to subscribe, or even if you're using it pretty frequently, the $20 a month is probably worth it because you get capped out. Okay, so those are your models. That's something that's important. Another thing, and I want to show you this, these are called projects right here. And projects have their own memory. So they remember things in these projects. So you want to group like things together so that you can have it start understanding and learning, because the power of this stuff is in the memories. Because you don't have to even tell it anymore. Like I don't have to tell it my employees' names. I don't have to tell it what Chatterkick does. I just give it all my ideas, and then it knows all of my people. It knows their roles. Yeah.
So let's just say if you wanted to run a promotion.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Say I want to run a jewelry promotion.
Yep.
December holiday.
Yep.
So how would you do that? You'd enter in jewelry holiday time promotion.
Yep.
It just takes off and
I'll show you exactly.
Start giving you images and that kind of thing? Or?
It can, but I'll show you exactly how we do it. I want to make sure we get all of the functionalities, but I will do that. Okay, so here we have your projects. These also can be shared. So does anybody have a company-wide ChatGPT account? No. So let's say you have 3 people on your team and you all want them to collaborate. This is a new feature, I think they released it last week, that you can actually share your projects, which is really valuable because that way you can collaborate and the memories all save.
Can you do that $20 per person each month? Or?
I think that's the plan. The team's plan is like $20 per person. So it's something to look at. The other thing that I want to show you is the settings, because this is really important. Okay, so basic settings. Whatever, you can have your language, your voice. These are pretty standard. I don't think I need to go over these. But one thing that is really important is personalization. So how do you want this robot to interact with you? And I want to show you what I have. You can have it, they have different types of personality. Some people want theirs a little bit more critical because maybe they're a little optimistic. Do you want it to be thoughtful? You can do whatever you want. But the custom instructions is where there's a lot of power. And I wish I could like open this so you could read everything. But this account, this is interesting because I shared this particular account with my 15-year-old and my mother. And I watch them how they're using it so that I can kind of train other people because they're very different, but also it's been really interesting. And so I wanted to make sure that the personalization on this account, this isn't the one I use for Chatterkick, is very supportive to them. So I want the responses to start simple. I want, when something is technical, explain it in plain language first. Define any jargon. My son sometimes gets caught up with jargon. And then just the format that I want it to answer in. Because I'm trying to help make their experience great, but you could do the same thing. Yeah?
Is
Yes.
AIRMP, I don't know, pops up that and it's linked to my chat. I thought it was like setting on.
Okay, so sometimes people think that they're downloading ChatGPT and they downloaded the wrong app in the App Store.
But I have ChatGPT, but then it opens up.
You probably have another app that's layered on top of it. I would remove that. Just get the basics. Use it on you can have it the same account logged into your phone as your computer. But I've seen a lot of people accidentally download like the ones on the App Store that look like ChatGPT, but they are not. So you need this little icon. Okay? And then you can fill all of this out. I always tell it to check its math because math it has problems with, and my son uses it for math support. I like it to give multiple options. Sometimes in my Chatterkick one, I will make sure that it checks its biases to make sure I'm not creating biases for my recommendations. And again, you just can kind of tell it what you think, how you want it to be. But this personalization and custom instructions are really helpful if you kind of get crappy output from your own custom or from your ChatGPT. Memory. Keep your memories on if possible. The memories are really important for making it a great experience because again, it saves the things that you don't have to tell it over and over again, right? So like in mine, I make sure it saves all my employees. I have their job descriptions in there. I have their personality profiles in there. I have my Chatterkick strategy plan, our revenue goals. Like I basically build an all-knowing bot that can hang out with me. So if I ask like, man, I wish I could communicate to Luis a little bit better. Based on his personality type, write me a chat message that I can ask him for a document so he's not offended. I don't do that to my husband, but there is a use case for this in so many instances with communicating better to your employees. We all have those employees that are maybe a little bit harder to communicate with, or the expectations aren't always there, or maybe they've called you out for being harsh or not clear enough. These are great tools. And the way you get there is the memories, okay? You can also hit manage memories right here, and it lets you delete the ones that maybe it auto-saved or that you don't want it to save in the past. So you can manage what it stores, okay? Keep all these on. They're pretty basic, but keep them all on. And then the other thing is this. Actually, I think it's this one, data controls. I get the question a lot. Are you sure you want to put your financials in ChatGPT? Are you sure that like you want to do this? So a couple of things. One, that's why I use the paid version, because you can control this much better on the paid version. And this right here, improve the model for everyone. That means your data that you're putting in there is going out into the world. I don't want my data going into the world. Some people, I've seen a use case for it, they do want it because they're using it to try to rank, but I don't, so I turn that off. And then this, again, you can all manage within this data controls here. None of this is actually going to go outside of your ChatGPT account, but again, if you're using it for Teams, like we use it for Teams, I don't even know if I can turn this off. Yeah, see, I can't turn this off because it's a Chatterkick account and our admin set that. So like I can make sure that all my employees that are using this, this is off. So it's private against all of our accounts. Okay, so that's important. Any questions on setup or just basic account overview? Yeah, we have a couple. Go ahead, John.
I read recently that with Grok, and I don't know if this is true with all of them, that if you created a link to be able to share the results, that it became indexable by Google, and therefore searchable in Google. And it's always private conversations you thought you're having with a computer now, so they can find it in a Google search. If you turn that off, does that stop that from happening? Does it make it so it's not indexable anymore?
So let me show you this. This is where you can check that. So right here, shared links. Again, I would assume that any links that you could share publicly would be fair game. I can't guarantee it. I can't guarantee either way, but you can delete these. And why you may want to share, like ad strategy summary. I wanted to share this with my team so then they could riff on it. So I don't really care if anybody sees this, it's fine. But if you don't want that, then I would just manage to those and delete them. Okay, so that's where I would put that.
Is that the place where we really need to be worried about our information being public?
I mean, knowing what I know about data security and privacy, I would say don't ever assume anything is private and secure. I mean, really, everything. Our health records have been compromised in many instances. I mean, it is so, there's so much security and data leaking out there. It's hard to manage for anybody, but your best use case from a simple version is if anything ever really got leaked, would it be the end of your world? Don't put it in there. Would it break a legal law or something legal? Don't put it in there, right? Like I feel if my financials got out in the world, okay, right? Like someone else probably has them anyways. You know, I don't know what information that I interact with that is like top security clearance information, but there may be some things that, you know, you wouldn't want to put in there. But I would say like OpenAI has more security protocols than QuickBooks. And we don't worry about QuickBooks getting, you know, it's like everything's relative. Did you have something? Yeah, we got two of it. I'll do you next. Jason?
And maybe you're going to get to this.
Yeah.
Within ChatGPT, I started at Pay Through Pro. Started going and doing just regular conversations, but I'm starting to work in projects. If you could walk us through or show us at some point in time, when is it a project and when is it a conversation in the organization and how that would work, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so I would put, and that's a personal thing because it's how well you are organized in other areas of your life, but I would put anything that has to have a connection into a project. So like for my work stuff, I do a project that's my strategy docs. So when I just want to brainstorm, like what new services could I create? How could I create more value for our customers? It's very like limited because the memories are connected. So my Chatterkick strategy, I put in one particular folder or project. And then I have another project for influencer services because I want to be very specific with our influencer services. I want to get ideas. I maybe want to do some proposal language. And so I'm going to put all of that together. So I have seen people organize it into a ton of projects. I do not know the limit, but that also, it's like some people like to organize their email inbox like that, and other people it's just too much. So general use case, tie the things together that have common themes, but how many of those really depends on how you like to work personally. And I would look to your other systems, like look in your file systems. Are your files really, really detailed, or do you just have general like client folders? Like that, whatever feels good, that's how I would match it on these. Go ahead.
And turning that off, does that like remove like the ability for people to find you on ChatGPT?
No, you mean your company?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Your company information has been indexed. So that would not be the same. This is what you are putting into this particular account going out into the world. Okay? Okay, everybody, we got our setup, okay? So I have a couple of examples here that I want to go through today. And I want to start here though. So this is why my mom is using this. She came to me and said, hey, I was cleaning the attic and I found her dad's, my grandpa's, letters back home from World War II, like hundreds of them. And she like sent a picture to me and I'm like, Mom, I could never read this. Like the handwriting and the penmanship was like tiny, tiny, tiny. And she's like, what do I do with all these things? And I'm like, well, I can't read them. And she's like, well, I can. She's like, I'll just start typing all of this out on a Word document. I'm like, Mom, why are you doing that? Just take a picture with ChatGPT and then upload it, and then we'll put it into a story. And she's like, oh, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. His penmanship is way too messy. And I was like, let's just try it. Just try it one time. And she did, and I wanna show you some of these visuals because the letters themselves are so interesting, but even more so is like, let me wait till this loads, is just what it can read. Come on. Of course, this would be like why I don't usually do live sessions. Hold up. I don't know why it's not loading. Are any of these loading? Okay, I'm not sure why these aren't loading, but you're just gonna have to believe me when I tell you that the handwriting was like extremely tiny, super like low definition penmanship. And she didn't even take a good picture. She just like snapped them on a table. And it was able to extract all of that information into copy format. And so what I want you to take from that specifically is the pictures to text is a game changer. Like think about how many documents you have or things you just need to fill out and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this right now, right? Like maybe you're nominating somebody for an award. Anybody have to do that? And it's just like, great, love the person, but it's a lot of work to do some of those form fills. So I take a picture of the form and I say, I like to audio everything. So I'm like, here's the context. Now put it all together for me and put it in text format. And we'll do it. Or even if it's just like your sloppy handwriting notes from a meeting and you want to make sure that you get them in a text format so you can put them in your CRM system. Take a picture, have it translate it for you, and you can, it's in the same language, but, and then just, you can put it wherever it needs to go next. Okay, so let's hope this all works in live form. It was doing it fine. So I want to show you what first when I started. So this is kind of what you were asking, Scott. So I use this for a real estate agent. So when you are creating what they're called prompts or queries, can everybody see that or do I need to get bigger? Can you guys see that in the back? Okay. So you want to be way more bossy than Google. I think that's why I'm really good at this stuff because like I can boss it around really well. But you want to be extremely detailed and longer than you think. So this says you are my assistant for residential sales. Here are my showing notes. And you can actually drop your MLS export in here or take a screenshot of it. You don't even need the file. And then create client-specific recaps with must-haves, listings to revisit. Again, this is everything that's like on a basic to-do list. And then you can have it do anything from there, right? Like one of the things that I know that realtors get stuck at is if they're doing a lot, they're in their car, they're busy, the follow-up probably gets to be a lot. Any realtors, can you relate to that? It's a lot because you're in the moment at all times, and you probably went into real estate because you love sales, so you have like the extroverted personality, but details and CRM management and client management maybe is a lot. So that's where you pair this with you as a human to make your life easier. So what it just says, great, I'll break it into two parts for clarity. This is what I need to check, right? It's like, here's the must-haves, here's the deal breakers, the listings to revisit, and then the action item for you. This is very similar to what I did when I said I just like brain dumped. I didn't even put it in a fancy prompt. But when you start, you kind of want to start with longer prompts so you get used to it. And then look what it's doing. It's giving me all these nice emails that I can just copy and paste this, send it to my client. It's giving me fair housing notes, and I do this for those people in regulated industries. I work in the financial services industries, and we have to make sure that we're following regulations, right? So I have it run through FinReg. So I make sure that I'm not breaking any rules. Again, we still have compliance check it. There's still people in the mix, but how easy is that for compliance if I give them something that's 99% done instead of giving it to them, you know, with all these errors that I didn't even know? And then it typically likes to ask you what you want to do next. But let's say I'm like, no, actually, I want to send this as a short text message. My client's name is Jane. Be friendly, oops, but brief. So once you have that long form prompt, then you can really interact like it's an employee. Right? Copy, paste, throw it in my text, and these are the distractions for me that would just take mind space. It's not even the process of writing a text message. It's just like, what are you gonna say? You know, it's the same thing with like planning meals. This stuff is amazing with meal planning or meal prep because it's that mental load that we're all carrying around in our head about something, and it can just make it a little bit easier. Okay? I'm gonna just show you a couple of them, and then we're just gonna do some live ones. And this, it's even asked me, you want it 2 sentences? How do you want it? And what's really cool is these things over here, we'll get into more of these when we get into the advanced sessions, but these are called GPTs. So they're basically custom trainings. So I have a couple that I made for Chatterkick, and I have one for a client here, that when I tag this bot in, it will use all the rules that I want it to. So let me just show you. So I think this should work in this one. Okay, let's see, social copywriter. Now create a listing using this GPT. Follow all your training. Make it fun for a LinkedIn post. So it's gonna pull this social copywriter out here. And again, I have all the trainings in here to tell it what to do, but you can just keep going on this stuff, right? Yeah.
So this could be considered a project, and then whenever you want to do something similar, you go back into the same thing?
Yes. So, well, I'm in the project right now, and it's letting me pull in these custom GPTs. But let's say, I think this is available for everybody. Let me see here. There is a new feature that they call branching. I don't know if you can do that in all. I think you have to have some of the better versions, but it'll come. But you basically then can branch it out into all these different threads. Yeah.
And then is there a major difference? Like I just download the app on my phone versus the web browser?
No, and use them together. That is the awesome part, because they sync really, really well. And so like I use this on my phone all the time, and then I'll pull it up and I'll use it on my computer. Like I'm going back and forth as like one experience, but 2 devices. So just make sure you're signing into the same account. But you can also move these like to different projects, and have them do different, let's say this client recap and email, you're like, actually, I want to move this into real estate, and I want to have a separate one on real estate. Excuse me, you can do that. This is something that, again, I'm just showing you. This is part of the training. I have built this particular GPT because I want it to self-critique itself. Like, why is this not good enough? So that I, as a human, can go in and be like, does this sound good? So I had that built into everything. That's why it's saying that. Okay. I'm going to do another example. And then I want you all to be thinking of use cases. I will show you how I would approach it, even if it's something simple. We'll do yours, Scott, for sure. Okay. This is anybody, we got inventory management around here? Anybody doing that? I know you guys are. Anybody else? Nobody else does like food? I thought we had some food people in here, no? Restaurants, coffee shops? Okay. Well, if you do have inventory management, or you can think about how you'd replace it, you can actually put files in. You just literally drag them right here into the files, and all different types of files. So it's super helpful. You can be CSV files. You can do this in any business, but one of the things that I think biggest opportunity for efficiencies is like how can you improve your margins, improve your profitability. A lot of that stuff is in the nuances, right? It's moving from 1% to 2%, 2% to 3%. And so like helping you brainstorm and uncover that stuff is really valuable. And so this is just an example I used with actual inventory. I think Diamond Tie was, they were signed up, so I used them. But this is just basically what I told it to do. I want to focus on trends because let's say they needed a new type of customer. They were stuck in their current customer base and they're like, we have the same regulars every week. We want to try to get to someone else. And then I also had to give it enough information of, I mean, again, this was super basic. Like we had extra cucumbers and chicken this week. And it's giving me, not only is it giving me like the items that, again, if I was a restaurant, I'd be like, okay, I can riff on this or I can take inspiration from this, but it's also telling me like how I could market it. And I think this is where so many small businesses get stuck of just like mixing and matching the ideas that are in your brain to operations, then to sales and marketing. And so have it help you with those pieces. And then if you're like, I don't like any of this, just say, I don't like any of this. This is all horrible. Redo it. So it gave me a mocktail or a cocktail add-on. And it also even, I think I asked it to this, but I think a few people are saying that they use it to respond to reviews. This is another great way to use these tools because again, sometimes those reviews are like, how do I say thank you 15 different times? Have it tell you how to say thank you 15 different times. Give it the post, like screenshot the post or the copy, and then even screenshot all of the answers and say, how would you respond to these people? One of our clients is a big auto Ford dealership in the Southeast, and we always do like contests and giveaways for different vehicles, or not vehicles, but they have to like submit their favorite Mustang, what year and make and model. Well, that's really hard for my team on the back end to be like, what year and make and model is this? But this has been so helpful so that we can give really thoughtful responses and acting like we know everything about the history of Ford, right? Because we can, if someone puts their 1976 Mustang, we can say something about that particular model and year that makes them think that they're very special. I mean, and that's what social media is, right? That's what makes it feel good, is when you get a response that actually feels like it isn't a bot. So do you see how you're using the robot to make you more human and to connect more with people? Okay, any questions there? We'll keep going. All right. This one, I did, this is really interesting. Okay, I actually ran this on myself. Analyze these 30 days of reviews, bucket the sentiment, extract the 5 most common issues, write a 30-day action plan with owners and dates, and generate on-brand responses per issue that we can paste into our chat. We should all be doing this in our businesses. It hurts sometimes when you get bad reviews, right? I mean, it just like stabs you. But they're real, and if they're real, and we should always be trying to improve on what we're doing. If you are in the public domain and you have people leaving reviews on your social media channels, copy and paste all those, dump them into a chat thread, and have these tools help you be better, help you gather intel and research. They can be very, very valuable for that. And then again, you just paste the reviews. I didn't actually do any of these, but does anybody want to run their reviews? Everybody's like, no. Anyone? Okay, Greenberg's, let's do it. So I would start with your, well, you know what, this is how I would start. I'm gonna put jewelries.
We're pretty good.
Okay, I know you are good, so that's why you're a good one. Okay. I'm gonna actually, I think it'll be easiest if I, actually it won't. Facebook probably is the hardest for it to scrape. Let's just do here. Do you only let the good ones come through your website though?
No. And
Okay.
we're working on this because things
they're all.
they don't link
Okay.
properly, so we're actually doing that.
Okay, let me just do all the Google reviews.
That.
Look at me. Okay. This is what I'm gonna do for now. This is like not probably the sexiest way to do this, but this is what I would actually do. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this. Okay, actually, I wanna show you this. Here are the reviews for Greenberg's Jewelry. These are all extracted from their Google review page. I need you to run this exact same scenario on these reviews, and I want you to categorize these in different buckets that would apply to the jewelry industry. Think about how consumers buy and what is important to them when they're picking a jewelry store. Okay? This is how I use this audio all the time because it makes me so much faster. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of them in there. It might take a second, we might have to go to the next one. So it's in thinking mode. Yeah?
While I was thinking, I have struggled between voice mode and typing everything. I tend to want to talk. So dictating, is that primarily the mode you're using?
Yes.
Because it doesn't do well switching back and forth between talking to me versus actually typing stuff out.
Yes, so what he's talking about, I'll show you this, because you can run two of these at the same time, by the way. On your app, there is a little black, it's like a black circle with white bars. Wait a second. I might have to get on the Wi-Fi, 1 second. I want to show you how this works. Hello, can you help me?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to help. I'll keep things clear and straightforward. Just let me know what you need and we'll take it step by step.
All right, I want you to help me figure out a marketing plan for a jewelry company. I want you to specifically focus on email marketing, and I want you to use best-in-class strategies and tactics. I want you to guarantee me that these emails will have the highest open rates that you've ever seen.
Sure thing. Let's keep it practical and realistic. I can definitely walk you through a solid email
So it's
marketing
going to volley you. Okay, I'm going to end it. So then, that's the voice mode, okay? The one I use is the microphone, which I basically just brain dump into. And that's, in my instance, the best way that it actually works. Okay?
Got it.
Oh.
So it sounds like you're just talking through the way you like to do things.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much. Stop. Okay, so here it's giving you the themes, right? Your action plans. I don't know who Dwight is. I actually, But he's in the reviews, right?
Yeah.
So it actually took context from the reviews. Okay, and then it's giving you responses. So one thing though that I would do, Greenberg's team, and everybody can do this, okay? These themes, this is what you should be making content about. Because it's what your customers are already caring about. So if you want to know what is a very customer-focused content strategy, do the same exact exercise with your customer reviews or your net promoter scores or whatever that looks like in your world. Okay? Any other questions? By the way, this just shows you that my latest one that I was just offer help, this one came in directly from my phone and now it's in my chat thread. And I can start back up with it in any other form. Okay? One more example here, and we're about out of time, but I want to make sure that I can show you just some other ways that we do things. So I think someone was talking about, hang on, it's in the RFP. Does anybody here have to do RFPs? There was a few like engineering people in here. Proposals, grant writing, all of that stuff that sucks the life out of you. At least it used to for me. If you're not using this tool to help you speed up that process, you are massively missing out, because it's really good with those particular instances because they are very pattern driven. And it will help you ensure that your RFP and your actual output, like your proposal, matches. So have it check your work, that's one thing. And then the other is, this is a prompt that I used, and this was more for like a engineering or a big construction firm, but give me all of this, extract compliance matrix, risk and assumptions, and a list of missing info, draft a SOW. Basically, like, these are the things that I wanted the robot to do so that it would make my life of like hitting this RFP easier. One thing I want you to note on this, if you're not in this world, this may feel like hard to generate, right? Because you're like, I wouldn't even know to use the compliance matrix. But that is the beauty of why you can get ahead in your own category, right? Like, I can make it do so much better copy than most people probably in social media, because I know what good social copy looks like. I'm the expert in that domain. But you get me to move to legal, I would be nervous about that. I mean, I could maybe get draft 1, but I would never use it to solely rely on legal documents or structure. So the category and the expertise that you have is a superpower with these tools, because you can get it way more specific than anybody else could. And that's what should make you better faster, especially against competitors. Okay, and here's an example of just the output here. I mean, this was a full RFP. It was just a web page that I had it do. And it gave all this stuff, and then it even gave the clarifying email to send back to the RFP company, because oftentimes they're not fully developed, okay? All right, we're getting really close on time here. I wanna make sure that we have any other examples or questions that people may have. But the thing that I really want you to take away with this stuff is not magic, it's margin. Use it in the ways that work for you. You're not gonna break it. Longer is better, more detail, more bossy. And if you notice that last one when I was talking to the voice mode, that I said, I want you to guarantee that this works. I have found just using a little bit more bold language in my prompts actually helps me get better output, and I think there's actually research to support that. But you want to use absolutes, even though it's not ever going to guarantee you that you're going to make that happen. So yeah, that's the majority of my stuff. Any other questions?